Hello, lovely sewing friends. How are you guys? So, I just need to tell you guys, I finished this top about like 3 or 4 minutes ago. And this is going to be a t-shirt top pattern that you guys can get, but I cannot tell you how good this fits. Like, sorry, we're just going to take you down a little bit. Like, it's a nice little crop. This green top and the green shorts are making me feel like I could like dress up as Shrek right now. But also, I took off the nail polish off my fingers, but forgot my pinky finger. So I did have green nail polish on. Now I've got a green top and green shorts on. But like, this is such a nice cropped top. I've got a little scooping at the waist and I shortened the sleeve length a bit. And then what I love about my stash is that I had this green rib in my stash from like, it was when I was back in New Zealand, so at least like 2 or 3 years ago. But I'm gonna make so many of these tops. I love this. I love how it's crop as well, because what I tend to do is I either wear it out like this, or I like to tuck it into my shorts like this. And then there's not too much fabric in here, making me look wider. But these shorts are Koto, they're from a while ago. But like, can we please just appreciate this top right now? And the fact that like I've made it, like I love that. So, hello everyone. And also just quickly, what I did at the hem is I did 2 single lines of stitching, and like it doesn't really matter how it looks out like on the back, but notice how I've also got the overlocking thread to match the fabric as well. That was not intentional, but I do like it. So yes, I am very, very happy with my afternoon sewing project, because I also want to show you guys this thing. Okay, so we'll get to the subject matter at point in a minute, but let me tell you guys about something, because when I was at work recently, it's about 2 weeks ago, and I'll tell you how it led to this top. So I was at work about 2 weeks ago, and this girl, she had a gorgeous white top on, and then it had a cowboy boot here, like just in the chest area. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love that top. Where did you get it from? And she's like, oh, thank you. I got it from Kmart. And I was like, oh, that's a shame. And then I was like, oh, I actually really like that top. Let me just see how much it is. So I went on the Kmart website, and I was like, it was $10. And I was like, oh, I could get that. And then I was like, hang on a minute, Annie. I'm sorry, but like, you can make that? You can actually make that. Why? Even after 20 years of sewing my own clothes, that is still my first thought of like, oh, I'm gonna go buy that. Because yes, buying it is going to be cheaper than making it, considering I went and bought like this main fabric for this top. But also, I can now make it my own, right? So I'm making that top from things I already had / bought, because I also had this pattern already, and I had the rib already. And so what I'm going to do, I printed out these little decals. So she had a cowboy boot here, but I printed out like a little cowboy hat, a horseshoe, and a cowboy boot. And what I'm going to do is like, I think I'm going to get like some transfer paper or something and have it here, like there, on my top. And then I'm going to embroider it. I think that's going to be so cool, because then when people are like, oh, I love your top, where did you get it from? And I'm like, well, funny you ask, because I asked the girl another question like that, and then I saw her top, and then I realized I didn't want to buy fast fashion, so instead I made it. Here's the pattern, here's the decal, and you can make your own. But like, oh my god, okay. Can you imagine if we have like, okay, so I have ideas. If like, with the pattern of this top, you could select one of these decals, all 3, and then you could do like, you know, them on different placements. So you have like the cowboy boot there, the horseshoe there, and then the cowboy boots over here. Or, you know, we all get a different decal, and it's like randomized. And then when you make it up, you can kind of like spot people who've got the other ones. it's kind of like a treasure hunt, but for tops and embroidery. But yes, that's what I just love this top. I love this top, it's so fun. I love how cropped it is. And the shorter sleeves, you know, it's not like up there or like down here, but it's just nice. I think I will be wearing this a lot. Keeping in mind, like as I was making this top, I was wearing this top. So we're getting a lot of use out of what we already have, which is fantastic. So I hope you guys are doing well. Today's topic and video are going to be all about, I love sewing, but I also love blank. And so I'm going to show you guys some of the other things that I like to do that are not sewing related. But since we've been over my current sewing project, I think it's also important to show you like how I built up my skills in other areas as well, because as you've just seen, I'm putting my little cowboy boots on this top. So how can I do that? Okay, I can screen print it on, I can print it onto some printable paper and iron it on, or I can get a little decal, but I'm going to embroider it. Because one of the other things I like to do is do embroidery and cross stitch. So I thought I'd show you what I've currently been working on for the last 2 years, on and off, a lot more off than it has been on. But yeah, I've been working on this cross stitch since I moved to Melbourne, which has been nearly 2.5 years. But I actually started embroidery before I started learning to sew. So I remember sitting poolside when I was about like 4 or 5, doing some cross stitch, very, very basic cross stitch. Keep your mind at that. But yeah, I've been doing cross stitch for a long time, and I'll show you a couple of my other ones. But this is one of them, the one that I've been working on. So what inspired this one was the tiles on a lot of the floors in cafes in historic buildings in Melbourne. So what I did is I just started with like a solid border, like one of these colors here, and then I just worked my way in and out. So it eventually like built up over time. I've still got like these corners to finish off. I don't really know what I'm going to do with those, because for this, I'm actually not following a pattern. I'm just sitting down late at night, watching air crash investigation, which is another hobby of mine, and just doing some meditative cross stitch. So this one's been a while, but I also have a bunch of other pieces, and when I do cross stitch, it's something just to keep my hands busy instead of scrolling on my phone. So if you are enjoying watching something but find yourself scrolling on your phone quite a bit, try something like cross stitch, because it's literally just making lots of little crosses. It's kind of like that like bedazzling bead glitter stuff, you know, all that kind of thing. And like you have something to show for it. And I think that's the one thing with social media, is that like, yeah, you might be scrolling for 2 hours, but then you don't have anything to show for it. Whereas if you do something lovely like cross stitch, you do have something to show for it, which I think is really cool. So that's one of them, my most recent one. But I'm also going to show you some embroidery as well, because I do embroidery and I also do cross stitch. So cross stitch is when you're going one thread's going over and under each other, so you make like a cross. Whereas embroidery is more like kind of a bit like painting, so it's like brush strokey kind of stuff. So I'll show you one of my best pieces ever. I love this one so much. So you may have seen it in the background of a couple of my videos, but it's this one here. So this is all embroidered. So you might be able to like see the like the little like threads along here. So this I started early 2019, and so it's basically a sunflower, because one of my favorite songs is Here Comes the Sun, and so there's sunflowers, and then it says Here Comes the Sun, but then you've got all these sunflowers around, and I got this thread color to match the calico that I put it on. It doesn't look, see, it's got, I need to like properly mount it and everything, and I will do that eventually. Famous last words. But this also has like French knots for the middle of the sunflower, and then the petals are all gradients. So yeah, I really loved doing that one. It took me 9 months to do, so a long time, but like it's now one of my absolute most favorite things, and I'll have it in every single studio I ever have ever. So that is gorgeous. And I remember the day I started it, and I actually, this is also so cool. See, I'll show you that because I made the pattern as well. This is the original draft pattern that I used to then transfer over to the calico that I then embroidered everything onto. So you can kind of see like how it kind of morphed into something a bit more permanent. But I love doing embroidery and cross stitch. And I think it's because it's like a really beautiful combination between sewing and painting. And also what's really great about it is that like you can transport it. So for example, I put my current cross stitch projects in like this little cloth drawstring bag, and I just chuck it in my bag and I take it everywhere. And so like when I'm at a friend's house, like my sister's house, I love being able to chuck everything in a bag and go. So like when we're sitting after dinner or we're watching the Olympics, it was really nice to just sit there and do my embroidery and just relax. And because like I think a lot of creatives may feel like this, like if I'm not doing something with my hands, I'm kind of wasting time. So I love being able to pick up something like my embroidery and just take it wherever I want to, because I'm being productive while also enjoying resting in a way. So if you haven't tried cross stitch or embroidery before, give it a go. Like I started out with like squares. I was literally just doing squares, and it's actually really nice to like build up a little design and stuff. So there's a bunch of free designs that you can get on Pinterest, or just make up your own. Like if you look here, like of course it looks like really intense, but if you just look up close, it's like a straight line, or like, you know, one, miss one, miss one, you know, or just an up and down, or just something really nice and basic. Like I got the design for the middle part here just from looking at different designs and then combining them all together. Like this is all freehand, and that's me saying it not to brag, but like literally you can design and do anything with cross stitch. This cloth here is called Ada cloth, and it's like the most common cross stitching cloth. And then I use DNC or DMC cotton embroidery threads, and this is done with 2 strands of embroidery thread. You can, depending on the Ada cloth, you can go higher or lower, but I tend to do 2 because then in a, you know, in a little bit of your thread here, you can get, it comes with 6 strands of thread in like one long piece of thread, so you can get 3 separate lengths of that thread in that piece of thread, if that makes sense. But so yeah, embroidery or cross stitch is usually the way to go. Another one of my hobbies is drinking water and telling you about the next one. Is, oh, sorry, last bit. I think I might start a new design. Speaking of things that aren't this difficult, I'm just going to embroider the birth of Venus, you know, just casually. So check back in with me in a couple of years and see if I've finished doing this one. Because you can see, sorry, that was my next project that I'm showing you, just falling over. You know, I just love the idea of going through all of these little bits and just filling them up with color. That's just what I like doing. Anyway, the next thing that I love to do with my time, apart from sewing, is actually painting. And I think that's why like embroidery and cross stitch are so cool, because like they're kind of a mix between the two mediums, sewing and painting is embroidery and cross stitch. But I'm going to show you guys what you may have seen a couple of my paintings before, but I actually did, I think it was like 2 years of art, technical stuff and all that kind of stuff in university. So I do have a background in painting. However, it wasn't until I left university and I tried out stuff on my own that I actually really enjoyed working, especially with acrylics, because we tried a bunch of stuff in university, like watercolors and oil paints and all that kind. Oil paints can just go away because no one has that amount of time to watch it dry. Literally, it would take weeks for it to dry, and I don't like it, so please keep it away from me. I like to work with acrylics, not the most sustainable and whatnot, but it's the easiest medium for me to work with. Anyway, so for my birthday in 2021 is when I kind of first started painting again on canvases, because we had nothing else to do during lockdown. So I just started painting, and I just looked on Pinterest and I was scrolling as you normally do on social media. And I came across like similar images that I liked the idea of painting, and it was all fruit. And so I was just like, okay, cool, I'm really liking this. I can see like the variations of light and dark and shadows and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna try and paint this. So I've actually got, sorry, I've got a little bit of a sniffle, but please ignore. So I started painting, and I'll show you my first painting. This was my first painting. And obviously oranges. And I enjoyed the process of dabbling paint on a canvas. It was just really meditative and calming. So this type of painting style is called retinal painting. So what it does is that close up, you can see the kind of very harsh line between one color and another. But as it goes out, your eye starts to blur it together. And so your eye, retinal, makes it like blend more. So I started with that one. Now I'm actually repainting oranges again, but now we are 3 years later, 3 and a bit years later. So you can, messy hair. So you can kind of see the difference. So this is 3 years ago. This is today. I really like that. I love seeing the change in it. Because look, you can see the shading is really, really different. But yet again, if you go really close, you can see the paint strokes and the dabs and everything, and your eye makes up the difference. So I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So you don't have to be good at something when you start, but you really can over time. This one isn't finished yet, this one. I've still got to get a bit more dark green paint just to finish the leaves and this blooming flower here, but that will come in time. But I've actually also, speaking of, I've actually also got the image that I got from Pinterest and printed off, and it's kind of like a mirrored image, but you can kind of see how like this painting of mine is inspired by this, but it isn't an exact copy. Like I put my own twist on this one. So for example, like the layout is a little bit different. I've kind of put highlights and lowlights in different areas. And like on this one here, the flower's in full bloom and there's a couple behind it. But with this one, I just kind of wanted one to be the point of reference for it. But I love how on this orange, I've captured that highlight there and also like the bottom of the orange there. And that was created with like a bunch of orange paint that I had, but also ochre, which was quite nice. And then dabbling in some white right on top. And I really like working wet on wet paint. And that's a really great thing with acrylic, is that like, it gives you time to work with it and it builds up the texture as well. Because also if you were to feel this, you'll actually feel the layers of paint in it. So that's another one. So that's that one there. But I'll take you around my studio and I'll show you the different works that I've done. We're going to go back over to my studio wall because this one was one lovely a pair of pears that I finished just before I came to Melbourne. And I think I love the contrast of like the gold and the blue tones in that one. I think that one's my dad's favorite because when I showed it to him, he was like, oh my God, did you really paint that? And I'm like, yes, of course I did. I painted that. And he's like, Annie, that's really good. And I'm like, yeah, I really enjoyed doing it. And he's like, no, that's surprisingly good. Are you sure you did that? Typical parent. But with that one, you can really see, like if you look up at the leaves here, probably not the best light, but you can see that highlight along that leaf there. But then if you come out, it all blurs together. So that's one there, got my pears. And then I've got a little peach over here, which is quite sweet. I love how it's just one singular peach. I like to have like a focus of the painting. And then also like, I think the background color is quite important as well. So I like there to be a really high contrast in tone and color with the background. So there's that one. And then over here, can't really remember when I think I did this one. So I did the pears when I left New Zealand. I'm pretty sure I did the peach when I first got to Melbourne because I remember being at my sister's house doing it. And then I think maybe these, I remember doing this one just before I left New Zealand. Yeah, I think the pears and this one were done about a week and a bit apart. Like I was really on a roll. So I've got that one up there and they're kind of like, they could be considered like grapes, or I think they're called elderberries, like the elder one, lol. Elder wand, lol. But yeah, and then I'm also kind of, this one's been on the go. This, obviously not a fruit, but it's a cow painting. I'm recreating a painting that my parents have in their house that I really like. So I'm going to work on that one. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to finish this. So I do have a lot of hobbies, but taking it back to sewing, look, this is 3 years of difference. I love that. I love how it shows. I love, because I think it's so easy for you to start something and yourself not see the progress if it's not something not as visual as this, like a skill or a talent in something physical or creative. Whereas, like if you build up your self-esteem, your confidence in yourself, it's not shown. But I think that growth also builds into something like this. So having something like a painting that I enjoy doing and I love doing, that shows the growth from 3 years ago to now, is something really pretty. I love it. I think that's so cool. I'm proud of myself for this. And I know that these paintings are going to be with me for the rest of my life because I think they're just such a good physical reminder of how far I've come, not only in something like painting, but also like who I am as a person. I think they show self-growth and I love that. Coming back to painting, sewing, sorry. This was one of my first ever sewing projects. And I think I love it how I've finished a sewing project as I've come to film this. But like, you can see all the hand stitching that didn't go so well there. It is actually falling apart because that seam's come undone. But this is something I will always have. And I use it every single day because I keep all my like wires and stuff in it for going to work. So yeah, growth in talent, in skill, in mindset. And we are literally living, laughing and loving and learning to sew, paint and do needlework. But yes, I love showing my talents, literal. You got to toot your own horn every now and again. I love showing my talents along with you guys. And hopefully over the next few years, I can build up like these collections, because I've also got a lot of more cross stitch that I haven't shown you guys. I literally have like a cupboard full of it. But yeah, I'm sure you'll see them at some point in a new studio at one stage, or my new home at some stage. So yeah, hope you guys have a great day, weekend, night, fortnight, month, year, whatever. And yeah, keep your eye out for this t-shirt pattern, because I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Have a good one. Bye.